This happened to me 2 years ago when I was in college. I was commuting at the time, so I often had late-night drives home after long study sessions at the library. The campus was safe, but the parking garage, not so much. It was one of those dimly lit concrete structures that always felt a little too empty at night. One night, I stayed later than usual. It was around 1 a.m. when I finally packed up my things and made my way to the garage. By that time, most of the lot was empty, except for a few scattered cars. Mine was parked on the third level, all the way toward the back. As I reached the second level, I noticed something weird. There was an older sedan parked diagonally across two spaces with its headlights off. The car wasn't running. I ignored it and kept walking. When I got to my car, I immediately got that feeling. You know, the deep gut feeling that someone is watching you. I glanced around, but the garage was silent. Just rows of empty cars and not a single person around. I quickly unlocked my car, got in, and immediately locked the doors. As I started the engine, I checked my rearview mirror. I felt my heart skip a beat. That sedan from earlier was now parked directly behind me. I hadn't heard it move. I hadn't seen anyone inside before. But there it was, blocking me in. The driver's seat was dark, but I could barely make out the shape of a person sitting inside. They weren't getting out. They weren't flashing their lights. They were just sitting there. I tried to keep calm. Maybe they were just another student. Maybe they had parked there without realizing I was trying to leave. I put my car in reverse and tapped my brakes. Just a small signal like, "Hey, I need to back out." No movement. At this point, my heart was pounding. I put the car in park and reached for my phone to call someone. That's when the driver's side door of the sedan opened. A man stepped out. He was wearing a dark hoodie, hood up, head down. He didn't move toward me right away, just stood there next to his car, like he was waiting for me to do something. I didn't wait to find out what. I immediately shifted into reverse and laid on the horn as I backed up. I didn't care if I hit his car, I just wanted to get out of there. As soon as I moved, the guy lunged forward, reaching for my driver's side door handle. But my doors were locked. I threw the car into drive and sped out of the garage so fast my tires screeched. As I pulled onto the main road, I checked my mirror again. The man was just standing there, watching me drive away. I didn't stop driving until I got home. I parked in my driveway, shaking, and checked my car door handle. There were smudges on the glass, right where his hand had been. The next day, I told campus security. They checked the cameras but said the footage was too grainy to get a clear look at the guy's face. He was never caught. After that night, I refused to park in that garage alone again. And to this day, I always lock my doors the second I get inside my car. This happened to me when I was 17, and to this day, I still don't like talking about it. I live in a quiet suburban neighborhood in a house with a basement. It's an older house, built in the 1950s, and like most homes from that era, it has a crawl space, a small, dark area beneath the house, only accessible through a heavy wooden hatch in the basement. We never really used it for anything. My dad stored some tools there, but otherwise, it was just a cold, damp space that gave me the creeps. One night, my parents were out of town, and I was home alone. It was a normal Friday night. I was just watching YouTube in the living room with the lights dimmed. Around midnight, I heard a strange noise coming from downstairs in the basement. It sounded like a soft, rhythmic thumping. At first, I brushed it off as the house settling. Old homes make noises, right? But then I heard it again. It wasn't loud, but it was deliberate, like something knocking from inside the walls. I paused my video and sat there, listening. I was trying to convince myself it was just pipes or maybe a raccoon that had somehow gotten in. But then, as I was about to get up, I heard something that made my stomach drop. A sound that sounded like a whisper. At least I think it was a whisper. It was so faint, I couldn't make out the words, but it was definitely human-like. I grabbed a flashlight and, against my better judgment, I decided to go check. My heart was pounding as I made my way downstairs. The basement was cold, the kind of cold that makes your breath visible. I swept the flashlight around, expecting to see, I don't know, a broken pipe or something. But then I noticed something that stopped me in my tracks. The hatch to the crawl space was slightly open. I stood frozen, staring at it. We never used that crawl space. That hatch should have been shut. I took a slow step forward, reaching for the handle. That's when I heard it again, only this time, clearer. A voice. From inside the crawl space. I dropped the flashlight and sprinted up the stairs, slamming the basement door behind me. My mind was racing. Someone was down there. I locked myself in my room and called the police. I told them someone had broken in and was hiding in my basement. The dispatcher sent a unit immediately, and I sat in my room, heart pounding, listening for any more sounds from below. When the police arrived, I heard them moving around downstairs. A few minutes later, one of the officers came up and asked if we kept anything in the crawl space. I told him no. Then he told me what they found. Inside the crawl space, there was a small pile of food wrappers, an empty water bottle, and a sleeping bag. Someone had been living under my house. But that wasn't the worst part. Near the back of the crawl space, they found something else, a notebook. Inside, it was filled with entries about me, about my routine, what time I went to bed, what time I left the house, even details about what I watched on TV. They never caught the guy. Whoever he was, he must have slipped out before the cops arrived. But for weeks after that, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about how long he had been down there. How many nights had he watched me, just a few feet below? And worst of all, what would have happened if I had opened that hatch? Just a little more.